Hello, I'm Malcolm. I'm a volunteer on the ESC Volunteer for Peace program. I'm living in Bosnia and I work with Resolve Network and ASFAR. And this is Eating Together, which is a podcast about how food can bring people together and how it can maybe cause some divisions too. So this episode we're going to be talking about baklava. So how did something so sweet become so bitter? That's what I want to discuss in this episode. Baklava, as we probably know, is a sweet pastry that's filled with like syrup and often pistachios or other nuts, made in various ways. We're going to describe that when I talk to my guest. But what's interesting is that recently there have been a lot of diplomatic arguments, especially between Greece and Turkey, about who owns baklava. And I'm interested in talking about it. Unfortunately, I don't have a Greek guest. I'm going to talk to my friend Taylan, who's from Turkey, but living here in Bosnia. And we're going to try and give some of the history. He will give his perspective, which is definitely a Turkish perspective on it. But I tried to challenge but also listen, and I found it really interesting because of this word belong, which you will see how it appears in the episode. But I often talk about British things like, oh, our thing or that thing, even if it's something that isn't of British origin. And if you asked me if it's of British origin, I would say, no, it's not of British origin, but it's still ours in a way. So we claim ownership of these things that have a murky history or whose history we don't necessarily know. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't claim ownership of them in some way. I think the issue is if people don't listen to each other and accept before taking pride in something. I think taking pride in a local food is great, but arguing about its origins is perhaps not so useful. Nonetheless, we had a really interesting conversation, and I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts about the origins of baklava or about just their own experiences eating baklava, because that's what this is about, the joy of food and sharing it together. So, without further ado, here is the interview.
Welcome to our podcast. This is the third episode of Eating Together. I am joined by Taylan. Can you introduce yourself, Taylan?
Hello, my name is Taylan Karakya. I'm a Turk, 23 years old, living in Bosnia currently. Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. It's great to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to talk today about baklava. And my first question about baklava is kind of what is baklava and how is it made? How is it made in Greece and in Turkey?
Well, it's usually it's the same thing, but Greece just made it with honey, while we make it with sherbet, which is the water mixed with sugar mixed with water, same thing. Yeah, that's the main difference. Apart from that, cooking and everything, it's pretty much the same.
Okay. Yeah, I think I understood that. I mean, I had in the UK, I ate Turkish and Middle Eastern baklava mostly, and then since I've been here in Bosnia, I tried Azerbaijani baklava, which they said is like more thick pastry, and then I tried Bosnian baklava, which is usually made at home instead of being made in a bakery, and it's more also thicker. I don't know.
And they use a lot of walnuts, actually.
A lot of walnuts. Okay, yeah, they use more walnuts, and they never use pistachio in Turkey. Seems to be the only place that uses pistachio.
Yeah, I mean, Iran also use pistachio. As
So
they use we use walnuts, but the main thing is when you say baklava, they will directly give you the pistachio one. But apart from that, we make it with every nut ever, literally. You could make it with walnut, you could make it with hazelnut, you could make it with I don't know, whatever comes to your mind.
Okay, and does baklava belong to a country?
Well, it does, according to Wikipedia, by the way. But when you think about it, it's more regional. It's coming from actually
Turkic people.
Yeah, let's say so. Word baklava, first bakla actually created in Mongolia, but they don't know anything about baklava. Bakla means literally rolled, if I could translate it that way. Yeah. Meanwhile, in Middle East, Turkic regions, not all of them, but some of them. Yeah, it created there, but like food in general doesn't have like it doesn't belong to a country. It just belongs to a region.
Okay. And what is the origin story of baklava in Greece?
Well, it was 2nd century BC. Romans were making it apparently, and it transferred to Byzantine. Meanwhile, Greece was claiming that baklava is in their like cookbooks, in their recipe. While the guy who found baklava, their version of baklava, is like totally like anti-Greek person. Like he hates Greece and everything about Greece. Yeah.
Okay, that's quite strange. But I'm interested in this conflict because I wasn't aware that any individual nation claimed it when I was young, because I just tried it from Middle East and Turkey. But the question that comes to me then is, why do Greek and Turkish people argue about who owns baklava?
Well, it created a conflict lately, especially like I could say last 10 years. There's a thing called like food tourism. So like every country on their own wants to get the like they want to have their own national food, so they could earn money out of that. When we have like Turkish baklava, which is like, I don't know, people are especially traveling to Turkey just to try that baklava, and yeah, well,
So Greece would like to do the same.
well, yeah, they would like to do, but I don't think that's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that both nations have claimed it, and there have been like arguments about it and who gets to claim it. But I think you're right about tourism. It's important, and also there's something about how important it is to Turkish people, baklava.
Yeah.
You said a phrase to me.
Yeah, it's like in our veins, like baklava, and I could add that kebab to that. It's like in our veins, like it's just us. It belongs to us too.
Yeah. So you would be defensive about it,
Yeah.
even though you just said to me food doesn't belong to a nation.
Well, yeah, sure. Like, of course, like if I don't know if there's like any traditional British food. If I would tell you that something doesn't belong to Britain, of course, like
Yeah,
give the same reaction.
If it was to be attacked, then a lot of people would say, would question that attack. We have it with fish and chips because the true geographical origin of fish and chips is probably Southern Europe, like Portugal. But it's British, so if somebody came and said it wasn't British, I wouldn't care, but some people would. So I understand the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, on a lighter note, we have a final question, which is, what's the best baklava you've ever eaten?
Okay, so in Turkey, it also depends where you eat the baklava, because the taste can matter a lot. Also, in Turkey, cities actually claim that they have the best baklava, which also like patent. Is it patent?
Yeah, they get a patent of it, like
Yeah.
copyright.
Yeah, copyright. Gaziantep took that copyright. Meanwhile, there are a lot of cities who are also like trying to get that back. And I ate the best baklava in Gaziantep, which they use fresh pistachios. And this guy who just made it right in front of me, put it in the oven. I waited for half an hour, but it was worth it. And they even put that ice cream. It also belongs to it doesn't belong to Antep, but it belongs to some nearby city. Oh my god, perfect! It was just perfect.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah.
I've had good baklava too, but I think I need to go back to Turkey
Antep.
and have a better experience with baklava.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining me, Taylan, and giving your perspective on the baklava wars.
You're welcome.
And that's the end of the episode. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Just one final thing before I leave you. There's a recipe from the ancient times, ancient Roman placenta cake, which is a honey-covered baked layered dough dessert. And a writer called Patrick Fuss considers it the origin of baklava, but he said placenta cake had a Latin, not a Greek origin. And Cato the Elder, who was an anti-Greek figure, which is who Taylan referred to, left the recipe as a piece of Roman cuisine. So firstly, we don't know if that's the origin of today's baklava or if it comes from Turkic people. And secondly, it's debatable whether it's even considered Greek in that case. But this is the Greek claim, and it's really interesting. So if you want to read more about it, go ahead. I'm sure you can find lots of information about baklava. But anyway, and goodbye.